So, you've seen how the Works changed their business model to move from selling software to selling solutions. In the process, they created new trade secrets which are now their most vital corporate asset, which require legal protection. But how can your company gain the perspective to anticipate the right transformation and then actually build a long-term plan to take advantage of changing markets? In the final segment of today's show, you'll learn how to make creating and managing change part of your corporate strategy.
Intel co-founder Graham Moore made a prediction now known as Moore's Law. The number of transistors on a chip doubles about every 2 years. Lower cost, higher productivity technology now fuels the ability to gather data about customers and markets in a fraction of the time and cost than before. But there's a significant difference between data and knowledge. How can companies effectively create processes for anticipating and managing change and innovation? We asked Lou DeSorbo and Todd Berry, head of UHY Advisors High Technology Practice, about ways companies can establish infrastructure and process to leap ahead.
We started in the early 80s as something that was very popular back then, a contract programming house, which was essentially renting out computer programmers to large companies, and they would pay for those services. And that really pretty much is what we did throughout the 80s, but in the early 90s things had changed and were really changing a lot. This is pre-internet, DVD and all the technology we have today. Something called client server was coming in, which was replacing the big IBM mainframe computers. Really up until about 1990, all computer power was on these large computers, and that's what we did. We programmed on those. Well, as they started going away and the Microsoft type of technology started surpassing the IBM style technology, we said, well, what are we going to do now? And my thoughts were we should use this opportunity to go from a service business to having a product, a software product we could sell. The thing that sells the day is our ability to come up with the unique skill to come up with the appropriate solution based on what we've done before in other instances.
Kind of evolved from technology-based companies to those whereby we really need to leverage the technology that we've developed because it's really underutilized at this point. The Works is a great example of how they've kind of transformed themselves from a technology-based company to a service-based company. So, and there are a lot of examples. I mean, there's a company up in Boston that was developed a device. It's a card scan device where you put business cards through this device. It's got some proprietary technology to take the information from the card and catalog it such that it can then go into your Outlook, your contact database. And it was great, but it became somewhat commoditized. But what they've been able to do now is leverage that technology and apply that technology to information that is not on a business card but is on the World Wide Web, the internet. And they've utilized it such that they've been able to pull information from people and their experiences, and they've been able to kind of sell this technology to the recruiters because now they can develop these kind of virtual resumes in an instant almost, because it's got some technology that really knows how to pull the data from the information that's out there on the World Wide Web. So that's a great example of using some technology that's become somewhat commoditized to applying it now to a situation where it can be used as a service to executive recruiters and corporate recruiters, etc.
Establishing a systemic process for identifying new ideas and innovations within your company is the first step in leveraging change, according to Berry.
What you don't want to do is kind of start from ground zero, right? I mean, so you've got to have processes and mechanisms in place to kind of keep abreast of what the trends are, so that you're not starting from scratch. But I mean, really, what you need to do is you've got to assemble processes so that you're used to dealing with, hey, it's been 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever, since the last product or innovation. We know we got to develop another one. So you can't ever get stale. I mean, that's the best advice that you can have, and you have to think globally, right? Even if you're a small company developing new products, new services, you've got to be thinking about, what, how we're going to manufacture this, or how we're going to support this, and does it have to be done here, or in China, or in India, whatever. And then what you really need to do is surround yourself with partners, service providers, whatever, that have access to those international markets, so that you're not going into those markets blind. So you've got to have smart partners. You've got to have a well-defined process to be able to take advantage of what the trends are. Plan, 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 and surround yourself with people who have access to those markets. Don't try to go it alone. The technology today that we have allows us to be more nimble. It does level the playing field. You don't need to be as large. You don't have to have the same kind of infrastructure you used to have 20 years ago to get the traction and get the critical mass. But you do need the right people in the right places. Access to capital is more abundant. It's easier to get to these days. But the critical piece is still, make sure that you've got, the plan, you've thought it through, you've used your advisors, you've leveraged their knowledge, and again, you've surrounded yourself with partners that can help you get to the markets that you're looking to get to.